Thanks for joining me on episode 513 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
I'm Dow Tippett, author of 7 Daily Choices. I challenge you to invest in yourself, invest in others, develop your influence, and impact the world by using your time, your talent, and your treasures to live out your calling. Having the ability to make the right choices every day is key, and one way to be inspired to do that is to listen to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend Scott Mater.
And often, we don't really even tune in to the why behind a resolution. Why do we want to eat right? Why do we want to get our finances in order? Why do we want to start a side hustle? Instead, it's this kind of vague aspiration. And that's why resolutions often peter away, because we haven't built into the resolution goals. Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world. In today's episode about impacting the world by stewarding your time, I talk with you about the difference between resolutions and goals, why setting resolutions generally doesn't work, and why you should work with a coach if you really want to turn your resolutions into success. As we talk about stewarding your time, wouldn't it be great if you could support this podcast and do it without just taking too long? Turns out you can't. All you have to do is use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon when you're ready to make a purchase via Amazon, and a small commission will come back to support the show just that quick. If you enjoy the show when you are ready to buy from Amazon, just use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon. If you're listening to this episode on the day that it comes out, you probably stayed up a little late last night, maybe watched some fireworks or watched the ball dropping on TV and got ready for 2020, the new year, the new decade. And one of the traditions that a lot of people do is they sit down and they make resolutions for the new year, resolutions for 2020. And first off, I want to be clear. I have nothing against setting resolutions. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But what I can tell you is a lot of studies show that when people just set resolutions, they don't follow through on them. That usually by February 14th, by Valentine's Day, whatever it was that they set out and resolved to do has drifted away and they've gone back into their old bad habits. They're doing what they've always done and expecting a different result. Think about it. Maybe you've done that yourself. Maybe you sat down and you've made a resolution that, hey, this year, this is the year I'm going to get my money in order. This is the year I'm going to get on a budget. I'm going to make a plan. I'm going to get out of debt. I'm going to save more for my kids' college or my own retirement. I'm going to learn how money works. And then you start on it in January, you do a budget, you make a plan, and then things go wrong. And by February or March, you're not even trying anymore. Or maybe you've sat down and you've made a resolution that you're going to eat healthier, you're going to lose weight this year. And you start going to the gym and you start meal planning and you do it pretty diligently. And by halfway through February, it's kind of gone by the wayside and you're not going to the gym anymore. You're not eating right. You're just kind of back to your old bad habits. Or maybe you've thought, this is the year I'm going to start my business. This is the year I'm going to work on my side hustle and get something out there into the world that's really more in alignment with what I want to do, what I want to put out there into the world. It's part of my passion. It's part of my calling. It's something that I really should be doing. And you start putting some ideas together and you start frantically trying to work on things. And then you look up and by March, you're right back to your old habits and not doing anything. Now, let's talk about what a resolution is. A resolution is really kind of a big idea. It's a general direction. It's about a behavior. It's about a value. It's about something that you want in your life. I want to eat healthier. I want to start a side business. I want to get my money in order. But there's not a lot of detail to most resolutions. What resolutions don't cover is sort of the how, and often we don't really even tune in to the why behind a resolution. Why do we want to eat right? Why do we want to get our finances in order? Why do we want to start a side hustle? Instead, it's this kind of vague aspiration. And that's why resolutions often peter away, because we haven't built into the resolution goals. We haven't broken it down and thought about the specificity that we need to think about. What things make up eating right? And then how are we going to actually accomplish those things? What are we going to do? And don't get me wrong. We've talked before about the idea of just knowing the next action. When you're completing a goal, you don't have to know all of the steps. You just have to know some of the steps. And then what you need to do is put into those goals, connect them to the emotion, connect them to the values, connect them to the resolution and the why behind it. Why do you want to do these things? You have to build in those deep neurological connections. And then you have to build the systems and the processes and the habits. And oftentimes one of the best ways to do that is through accountability. You have to work with others. You get yourself in a mastermind group, hire a physical trainer if you're working on losing weight and trying to go to the gym, because that holds you accountable. If you're working on your money, hire a financial coach like myself. If you're working on starting your business, hire a business coach like myself. Work with somebody who's done it with others. Work with someone who's seen it before. Join a mastermind group of other people that have started businesses. Join a mastermind group of other people who want to lose weight or get their money in order. Look for some way to surround yourself with accountability and like-minded people. Try to figure out, what is it that's been my barriers in the past? Really visualize success, but also think about the obstacles. What's going to get in your way? And then what am I going to do to overcome those obstacles? Really think through how it's going to feel when something goes wrong, and then what you're going to do about it. Because usually what happens is we have this vague idea that everything's going to go perfect. We're going to go to the gym every day. We're going to eat right every day. And we don't think about the fact that one day you're going to be there late at work, and on your way home, you're just going to, you got to grab something. So you just drive through McDonald's, and pretty soon you're right back into the old bad habits of food addiction. Or pretty soon you're right back into the old systems that got you in trouble with credit card debt in the first place. Or pretty soon you're right back to binging Netflix in the evening instead of working on your side hustle and your business. So one of the things I'd like to offer is I've got a $1 30-minute consultation meeting. I'll sit down with you for 30 minutes. And what I want to do is go over your resolutions with you and help you break them down into goals. And if some of those goals are in areas where I have expertise as a coach, I'd like to offer you and talk to you about what coaching would look like. This isn't a hard sales pitch. This isn't going to be me sitting down with you and saying, buy my coaching, buy my coaching. It's really just a conversation where I try to help you a little bit, so you walk out with something actionable that you can actually put into practice that might make this year the year that your resolutions actually work. And if it makes sense for us to keep working together and you need that accountability, I'll talk to you about what that would look like. So if you're interested in that, go over to inspiredstewardship.com/new year, all one word, NEWYEAR, and sign up for a 30-minute consult for just $1. and I'll sit down and let's make 2020 the best year ever. Thanks for listening. Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of time, be sure to sign up for our Stewardship of Time Tips series by going to inspiredstewardship.com/time or texting 44222 time tips, and that'll get you our best tips on stewarding your time. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.